Sounds good.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Spiritually Speaking. I am Dee May, and this is Jessica Kirby. And we had a previous another podcast planned previously, and that didn't work out today. So today we're going to do an impromptu podcast on some of our very own experiences with spirit. So this is going to be very organic because we're flying by the seat of our pants, but it's going to be fun. And here we go. What you got, Jess?
That's right. Awesome. Well, I thought maybe just talk about some of our experiences that we've had through the years, even back to, maybe our childhood even. Um, do you remember some of the first experiences you had,
I do. I
like
remember
that really stand out?
yes, I remember my very first experience with seeing spirit because that happened when I was really little. Like I think I was about 4 or 5 when I saw my first
Mhm.
spirit. And I've said in previous podcasts, I've never been afraid. It's just always felt very natural to me. I've never been freaked out by it or anything like that. It's just seemed second nature to me. So I
Mhm.
remember that we had this room that was kind of a little bit of a long room, and it had a door at both ends of it. I don't remember if it was a living room. It seems like it was some sort of living room type room. But I was standing there and
Mhm.
I saw this older lady in a like a long skirt and had kind of the apron thing on, and she had this scarf thing tied around her head underneath her neck, and she was walking through the room, and as she passed me she turned and looked at me, and then she just kept right on walking. And that was my first experience, and I actually saw her again in 20, I want to say 2016 maybe, because it was before I got out of
Mhm.
nursing. I was still doing doing in-home care at that time, and I was
Okay.
sitting with this my client, and I felt something, and I was like, ooh, I felt this presence. Who is here? And so I
Mhm.
looked over to my left, and there she was, just standing there looking at me. And she looked exactly the same as she did all those years ago when I was really little. So I don't know why she came back. I don't know why she didn't talk to me or anything like that. And it'd be really cool, I feel, to have her visit again and tell me who she
Yeah.
is. And because clearly she's been around my whole life, because she did pop
Mhm.
up again as, I was quite significantly older, in 2016 than I was when I was 5. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, it was really
That's
cool. And I would love to know who she is, and what, she's actually a relative, or who she is. I would love to know. I think that'd be really cool. But very vivid, very like full. I saw her full on, like, if, because we all
mhm.
experience spirit differently, but it was as if
Right.
an actual person, living person, walked through or was just standing there. I saw her that vividly. So it was pretty cool.
So I wonder if she is a guide or maybe just some type of ancestor. When you were just describing her, um, I got a like Dutch. I kept feeling like she's Dutch. I
Oh,
don't know why.
interesting.
Maybe it's just the way
Yeah,
you described her, but yeah, I just picked up Dutch.
interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't I don't know that I was quite that young, but I do. And I had mentioned before, was it on a did I tell it on a podcast about when I was like, I don't know, 7, 8 years old, something like that, maybe 9, I'm not sure. And I was at my dad's for the weekend, but I was over at a friend's house who lived over by him and was playing the Atari. Did I tell that one? I'll tell it again.
Yeah, tell it again, because I it's not
um,
sounding familiar right now.
yeah.
That doesn't mean you didn't.
Okay. So I again I'm not sure exactly how old I was, but I was over at a friend's house. We were playing Atari. They'll tell you my age a little bit there. But we were playing Frogger, and like everything went black around me all of a sudden. I could not see anything. And then like this vision appeared. It was almost like a vision at the end of a tunnel, and it was a red, smaller pickup truck that had wrecked and someone was trapped in it. freaked me out. I had no idea what was going on. I like start crying because I can't see anything except this vision.
Right.
And it went away. It seemed like it lasted a long time, but it was probably only like a few seconds maybe. But I went home and, told my dad, and I was kind of freaked out. And I called my mom and told her about it. And of course it was just kind of, it's your imagination, try to explain it away. Um, but my freshman year in high school, um, one of my classmates died in a accident in a red pickup truck.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
And so, yeah, that's one like premonition I had years and years ago. And that's not a common thing for me.
right.
But when I heard that that classmate had passed and saw the picture in the newspaper, like it just all came flooding back. And I realized, oh my God, I saw that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really wild. It kind of I can't explain the feeling that like washed over me. Just recognizing that and
Yeah.
and remembering having that vision as a child really was like, whoa, what the
Yeah.
hell?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
I
can
was like,
imagine that would be a little distressing to it reminds me of something Stephen Harefield said in the last podcast we did, though, about getting these prophetic dreams or premonition visions, things like that,
mhm,
that we see it, but we're not meant to control the outcome of it or affect the outcome of it in
mhm,
any way. So you may not never know when it's going to happen
right.
or where even
Yeah.
that it's going to happen. You just get a sense of it's going to happen, you know. So
Hmm. And I
it's
hadn't necessarily forgotten about it, but I hadn't thought of it in a really long time until, and I mean, I heard that the classmate died, but until I saw that picture in the newspaper of the vehicle, the red truck, I was like, oh, I saw that,
yeah.
That was pretty wild. And I remember another time, when I was probably around the same age, maybe things started happening around this time for me. I'm not sure, but I remember hearing my name. I was in my bathroom. I was like 7, 8 years old, and I heard my name yelled, and I turn around, and where I like to my back, we had a cat, and there was the kitty litter box, and I swear I saw like this black shadow or mask kind of go down into the floor.
Hmm.
And that was it. And I was like, oh my God, and I call my mom and she tells me, well, that's your subconscious telling you to clean out the kitty litter box.
Leave it to a mom
But
to
I
be
mean, I
very
was
practical
crying
about
like
it.
this. Yeah. I mean, I was crying. I heard it plain as day yell,
Yeah.
Jesse. And I turn around. Oh, and I was home alone that time. That's why I called my mom. She was at work. And oh my gosh. Well, probably not 7 or 8. I probably, maybe my sister was asleep or something. I don't know, but I called my mom.
Yeah.
But that was another experience at a young age. I'm trying to think. Well, do you have I remember experiencing a lot of deja vu growing up.
Mhm.
And Layla, my youngest daughter, she experiences a lot of deja vu and dreams. We had talked about that before, kind of prophetic dreams. Um, I don't know. Do you have any from a little older or some that really stand out?
I have an experience that happened, and my brother and I have talked about this since then, and he swears that he did not do this. So I must have, I don't remember talking to my brother about this stuff when we were kids. I don't remember really talking to anyone about it, but I wonder sometimes if
Hmm.
I didn't talk to him about it and then we just forgot, like we buried that memory or
Hmm.
something, because he used to hide in my closet and wait till I was almost asleep. And then he would jump out and like, rah, and scare the shit out of me. Right. Well, this one time I was almost asleep and I had my bed was, so if you walked into my bedroom door, then my bed was the side of my bed was facing the door. So the head of my bed was up against
Hmm.
the adjacent wall. And this one night, I heard something flew through the air and hit my bed and bounced off of it. And it was a ball. And of course, I thought my brother did it. And he's like, I didn't do it. I
Hmm.
didn't do it because my parents, would get on to him for scaring me because he did it all the freaking time. He thought it was hilarious. And there was a couple different things that happened, and I'll go into that in a second, like in real life, but he, like even remember my parents coming out and like getting onto him, and he's like, I didn't do it. I promise I didn't do it. And still to this day, and we're in our mid 50s, and he would
Yeah,
have no reason to lie now about it. He still swears he did not throw that ball at my bed.
that's
So
wild.
I don't know who threw the ball at the bed, but it wasn't any living person in our home because my parents would have never done that. And my brother
Right.
denies it to this day. But there's a couple funny things physically in our living world that happened because of his penchant for doing that. And one time I was going to go to bed, and I saw my closet door was open just a little crack. So I went to push it shut, and I couldn't get it shut. So I'm like pushing, how you just hit your shoulder against the door and try to get it shut.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden my brother starts screaming inside the closet because his toe was actually in the door, and I was crushing his toe. Like, well, that's karma, buddy. You had intended to scare me and have
Exactly.
your toe smushed. So but then because he used to do that all the time, and I could never get him back. When we were teenagers, we lived in a trailer, right? And his bedroom was the one on the end of the house, and it had a sliding door. And he would go out at night and he would come home late and stuff. So when he was gone and after our parents went to bed, I rigged up
Hmm.
fishing line because I'm like, I'm going to get him back. So I rigged up fishing line. I tied it to his closet door, the one that was furthest away. I tied it to his closet door. I ran it behind furniture, under the wall, and to my room. So, because I knew he wouldn't see it because the lights would all be out when he got home, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he wouldn't turn them on because he didn't want to, wake people up or whatever. And so I waited till I heard him go to bed. And when I thought he got just about asleep, I started pulling on that fishing line really slow. Well, as it started going around the corner of the wall, it started going like that. And I heard and I was like, shit. And I heard him and I was 16. I was about 16 when this happened. And I heard
Uh-huh.
him get out of bed, and I was like, oh crap, because I knew he was going to come to my room. So I put the fishing line, I hid it
Uh-huh.
under my bed, and I pretended like I was asleep. And he came in there and he's like, D, did you hear that? And I was all like, oh, did I hear what? I'm asleep. I didn't hear anything, all pretending like I was tired and sleepy.
Yeah.
And so he goes back to bed, and I wait a little while to make sure he's like starting to go to sleep. And I thought, man, I can't do this slow because it's going to do that noise again. So I grabbed that fishing line. And I was like pulling on it really fast. And I heard that closet door slam open. Wham! It hit the other wall. My brother jumped out of bed, started screaming, ran down the hall. My parents are coming from the other room, and I am
Oh,
in bed laughing my ass off. Like I about fell out of bed. I'm laughing so hard. And
he
my
deserved
brother,
it.
it scared him so bad. And I remember my dad going, well, son, like, I mean, and I was like, I loved it because it took me a long time to get him back, but I finally got him back. And I know that's not a spirit story, but it's still funny as shit. So
You got him good though.
I got him good. That was so good.
That's funny.
Hmm.
So do you I've read a lot that people who are more maybe going through an awakening have ringing in their ears a lot. Is that something
Yeah.
you experienced a lot or do experience? I do too.
I never used
I
to,
do
but
too. If
I
I
do now. Yeah.
see, I've had it like for, well, I don't know how long, a long time. I don't know when it exactly started, but it's like so common I don't even hardly notice it anymore
Yeah.
unless it gets really loud.
Unless it changes
You know what I mean?
pitches, because it'll change.
Yes, yes.
And to the higher
Mm-hmm.
pitches, they say the higher pitches are angel frequencies. So you're, and you're getting
Okay.
downloads. It's funny when we talked to Stephen Harefield, he mentioned this in one of the podcasts that we did. And he said,
Mm-hmm.
there's no such thing as tinnitus. I don't care what the doctors say, because
Yes.
these are
Yep. I remember.
downloads. Yeah. These are downloads from, so I find, because when it changes to the higher pitch, I'll be like, oh, angels. And I don't know if they're giving me a message or if they're just letting me know they're around, because you can't always figure things out. I mean, you and I just talked about this morning
Mm-hmm.
earlier when we were talking on the phone, how,
Mm-hmm.
don't even try to get anything by an intuitive empath. Like, don't even try, because we might not be able to know exactly what is going on, but we know when there's something going on,
Something. Mm-hmm.
something.
Yep.
So you might not always know what these messages are in the moment that you're getting them, but that information comes when you need it. When the conversation arises or the question arises around whatever you're doing with your business, or, your friendship, relationship, whatever the issue is that you're thinking about, then you'll find that information is just already there for you. And I just think that's
Mm-hmm.
so freaking cool.
It is. It is. We are walking, talking lie detectors. And
Yeah.
I mean, really, I mean, have you had, conversations with someone and you have no reason not to believe what they're saying, but yet you just feel like, oh, bullshit.
Oh, yes. And I
I
do
call
that with
bullshit.
podcasts even. And this is what I
Mhm.
was going to say too, is that distance doesn't matter. So if y'all think you're halfway across the world and we don't know what's going on with you, energy doesn't know distance. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But
Nope.
yeah, it's super interesting. It really is. I was going to say something
It's
else and
so
it went right
fun.
out of my head.
There's that damn
It'll come
squirrel
back.
again.
I know it'll come back. But it is a lot of fun.
Um,
I enjoy it a lot. I mean, spirit is so fascinating, and I've said it before, and I'll probably say it 100 more times throughout these podcasts that we do. You can't out creative spirit, and we talked about
no.
this morning too. Spirit can come up with some ideas and ways to bring things into your life that you would never even consider, and you're going to think, oh wow, that was really cool. Like I would have never thought of that. No, you wouldn't, because spirit is so freaking creative. I mean, it's amazing. It is amazing, and it's so much fun to watch these things happen and the way they come about, and how these synchronicities just, I mean, it's absolutely incredible, and I love it, and I'm so grateful for it. I truly am.
Oh, me too, me too. And I think about, when I see these synchronicities, how much I've missed before because
Yeah,
it's not, at least for me, it wasn't something that always stood out to me, synchronicities. But once I learned to pay attention, that's when I started noticing and putting the puzzle pieces together. And
yeah,
it's just so cool. It is so cool. The experience. And when I notice the synchronicities, I always get like this wave of excitement and I don't know, almost electrifying through my body real quick,
yeah,
just like a little, it's like, whoo, ooh, that's
yeah.
cool.
That's so cool. It's like you get giddy for a
Chill.
minute there. Yeah, like that's so fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It is. It is. It's so cool.
And one of the
Um,
things I want to mention that it has been a very recent experience with spirit is you and I have talked multiple times, and you've got itchy palms. And
yes,
I've
I
said,
love it.
and you were like, every single time I have an itchy palm, I get money. And I was like, well, which palm
Every
is it?
time.
Is it itchy? Because you always hear the thing about one palm is for coming in, money coming
Mhm.
in, the other one's for going out. And you're like, it doesn't matter. If I have an itchy palm, doesn't matter which one, I always get money. And I said
Yep.
to you, well, that doesn't happen for me. I can get itchy palms, but nothing ever seems to happen. And then one day
Mhm.
I've started doing this. What if? Because I get really curious. What if I did though?
Mhm.
What if every time I got an itchy palm, I got money? And
Yep.
the week before I went to my grandma's, which was just last week, I just got home on this past Friday. My palms were itching like crazy, both of them. And I was like,
Mhm.
what if what if I got some money? That would be so cool. And while I was gone, my friend Vicky put some of my art, some of my trees, my twisted wire trees in her massage studio. And while I was gone, one of my trees sold. And I was like,
That's
check that
awesome.
shit out. That's so fucking cool, man. Like, so if you're, if you just get curious and allow more room for possibilities,
Mhm.
like why does it
Yes.
have to be limited? Why does
It
it have to
doesn't.
be limited? It doesn't. The only thing that limits us is us. We believe we're limited
Hmm.
in that way. It's like when I was doing, when I was first getting into life coaching and stuff, and I was looking at all these other, posts by life coaches on Facebook and things like that. And they're like, if you do it this way, it'll work. And it's like some of these ladies, not all of them, but some of them come across as like, this is the only way to do it. If you don't do it this way, then you're not going to succeed. And,
Hmm.
it's like, but like, why do you get to
Yeah.
decide what's going to
Yeah.
work for me? Why do you get to decide that? What if it did work this way? What if it didn't take so long? What if it did happen overnight? What if it did happen different for me?
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah,
you get to pick
absolutely.
that. You don't get to pick that. So I'm getting
No.
curious about it. And guess what? I'm doing things that are, and when I got my book published, I did the same thing. I broke all the rules. When you look at how things go, when you get a book published, they have all of these criteria that you have to meet and this way you have to do everything. Girl, I didn't do none of it. None of it. I did
Hmm.
everything. I'm like, I'm going to do it my way. How about that? And it worked. And
There
I
you
got
go.
published. And I'm like, so there you go. It doesn't. So I guess what I'm saying is let's not limit ourselves because of what other people are saying. And it can work out for you and will work out for you if it's supposed to, if you just do it your way. If you are authentic and
Hmm.
genuine and your spirit and your intention is like it's supposed to be, and it's good and true and pure, then those things are going to happen for you. No one gets to tell you that it's not going to happen just because you don't do it this particular way, you know?
Right. Yep, absolutely. I agree. 110%.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is. Oh, so, um, experiences. I remember one particular one. I have my little book here in front of me of experiences that I've written down because I've had so many. When I was doing home care, and this kind of probably goes with my intuitive picture reading,
Yes.
when it was really kind of when I started realizing, man, I can do this. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I had a home care patient who I think I did wound care for. Regardless, she had a picture of her granddaughter on her refrigerator, and at a glance of this girl, I knew she was troubled. I knew she was troubled, and like the more I looked at it, I started just feeling so just a lot of anxiety and depression and hopelessness and just like succumbing to addiction, like just accepting it. Well, this is how it's going to, this is my life now.
Yeah.
And without, of course, I didn't say anything. I didn't dare at that point. And her daughter, um, my patient's daughter, and the mother of the granddaughter, came in and kind of started talking about her and was talking about her troubles and how her daughter's in rehab and all this, and she's like, I don't know why I'm telling you all this. And I get that a lot.
Yeah.
I get that a lot. um but it was just so interesting that because that was at the beginning, of my journey, and how things would just happen without even looking for them. But that is, I had been practicing reading pictures, and just a glance at that, that photo on my patient's fridge just brought all of these emotions, and just kind of what was going on with her. So that was interesting. And it would happen like that for me a lot in the beginning. Like I had no control. Things would just come to me, or I would see things, or but it was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. It's
Mhm.
amazing the stuff that you pick up sometimes, but um
Mhm.
and I remember what I was going to say now, like when you asked me if I have conversations with people and I just know they're full of shit, even though I have no real reason to
Mhm.
feel that way. I
Yeah.
get that a lot in podcasts when I'm watching, because I watch a lot of podcasts, as you know, and
Yeah.
um, I I will watch. There for a while, I was really watching a lot of Alex Ferrari's Next Level Soul podcast, and he interviews a lot of mediums and channelers, and some of them, very few of them I could watch all the way through, especially the channelers, because I was like,
Mhm.
I would get part of the way through and I'd be like, no, and no. And I just shut it off, because like if I'm pick up that vibe, I'm not going to keep listening to it, because it may not be
Right.
bad information you're giving, but it's not true and authentic
Mhm.
information, as far as where it's coming from. And I feel that. And
Right.
so I'll shut it off. I mean, I remember watching one, and this girl, like, me, Jess, like I am out there with some of this stuff. Like I feel, see, experience so many wild things
Mhm.
that I have not shared with very many people, because they are so bizarre. So for
Mhm.
me to watch a video of someone else and go, like, that's just what the hell, you know what I mean? No,
Mhm.
it's something
Right.
that is coming from a place that just is not a true place. And this girl, I
Mhm.
swear, she like it. I felt like she took read every book that she could on the wildest, craziest experiences that people had, and mushed them all together. And that was her experience. Like she just took all this crazy, and I just was like, wow, I can't, like, and I had to shut it off, because it was starting to look, it
Yeah.
starts to irritate your soul. At least that's how I feel. It's like
Yes.
it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like fingers on a chalkboard inside of your body, and it's like, ugh, I can't take it. Like it sets your teeth on edge,
Mhm.
and I just have to shut it off. And the more you allow yourself to feel these things, and you trust your intuition with the
Mhm.
information that it gives you, the more
Mhm.
you notice it, and the faster you notice it, and the more intensely you notice it. So you don't have to put up with it as
Yeah.
long, because it doesn't take as long for it to go, no, that's not it.
Right.
Get away, go another direction.
Mhm.
And I think that's a
Yeah.
very valuable tool to have. And I'm super grateful for that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, love it. Um, okay. Looking through here just to see if any others I wanted to share. Do you have any off the top of your head? Any other?
Well, I would like to talk about shadows, the people who appear to you
Okay.
as shadows, because I know a lot of people are
Mhm.
like, oh, they're shadow people and they're bad, but they're not,
Mhm.
they're not. And I
Mm-mm.
encourage you to go on your feeling in the moment if you experience what people refer to as a shadow person, because they're not bad. I remember one
Mhm.
night I was married, and I always feel it first, well, not always, but usually I
Mhm.
feel it
Yep.
first. And I felt this presence, and I was like, and I was laying on my left side, which put me facing away from the bed, and
Mhm.
I felt this presence, and I opened my eyes and I looked on my side of the bed. I didn't see anything. So I rolled over on my back and I looked down at the foot of the bed and I didn't see anything. And so I rolled over a little bit on my right side, and kind of set up on my elbow a little bit. And there on the other side of the bed was this very large shadow, like a silhouette type of
Mhm.
situation. And it was very distinct, though. It was very like opaque. It wasn't transparent at all. It was very opaque. And it was this large man standing there, and he had one of those hats on that has like the straight brim on it, like that. And he had
Uh-huh.
one of those hats on like that. And of course, you couldn't see details because it was all, black. But he had one of those
Mhm.
hats on, and you could tell he had like a coat on that was, how some of the older um generation coats will come like down mid thigh. You could tell it was a
Mm-hmm.
longer coat like that, and he had that on, and I was like, oh. And I laid back down, and I was like, what the, like, I didn't have a bad feeling or anything, but I was just like, what is he doing? Just like standing there looking down at the bed. That's kind of how I felt. I couldn't see his face, but that was kind of the impression I got, that he was looking down at the bed. And so I sat back up again, and I looked over there, and he was still there. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
huh, that's so weird. I wonder what he's doing. And then I laid back down again, and I thought, wonder if he's still there. So I sat up again and looked, and then he was gone. But like, it was so interesting, but I didn't get a bad vibe. Nothing happened. He didn't do anything. There was no bad energy there. So I really encourage people to feel in their soul what kind of emotions are going on, because just because someone appears to you as a shadow or a silhouette doesn't mean it's a bad energy.
Right. Yep. Yep. I'm surprised you didn't ask him, well, what do you want?
Well, that's before I
Waking
really
you up.
started exploring, more, because
That's true.
it's so, and that's another thing. Like, it has been so natural for me that I never really even thought about it. I never even, because I even had
Hmm.
a person ask me one time, well, why don't you just ask them what they want? Ask them to come back. And I was like, I don't even think about it, because it's just something that's been happening. It's like breathing. The next one,
Hmm.
it comes in,
Yeah.
the next one goes out, the next one comes in, the next one goes out. So it's like, there's a spirit and now they're gone. Here's a spirit and now they're gone. You know what I mean? So I never really thought about it. But now that I've grown so much, because I've been doing so much inner work. And that's another thing. If you're going through crap in your life and your vibrations are lower, it does make it more difficult. And you don't think about, because I had so much shit
Hmm.
in my life that I was dealing with in my real world, well, it's all real, but in
Yeah.
my physical world, that I wasn't
Yeah.
focusing on that. It wasn't a priority to me at all. But now that my physical world is calmer and peaceful, and I've been doing so much inner work, now I'm to the place like,
Mhm.
oh, there you are. And what do you want? Let's talk, sit down, let's have a chat. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
I want those longer conversations now, and I'm getting them. I
Right.
am getting them,
Hmm.
so but yeah, it wasn't something that I explored at that time, but I wasn't in the space to explore those things at that time, but now I am. And that's one thing we have to realize too, is it's that, and that's why I named this YouTube channel and my business what I named it, about the eternal evolution, because we're always growing.
Yeah.
We are always growing. We're never
Always.
stagnant. Everything is moving all the time. And so
Hmm.
now I'm to the place, and what happens when it's supposed to happen, and when we
Yep.
allow
It
it.
sure does.
Yeah. So good question
Mhm.
though.
And yeah, and it's so much easier if we allow it rather than resist, because it's gonna come full
Yeah.
force. That's I feel like that's kind of what happened with me, is that for so long I dismissed and ignored that. Finally, just one day it's like, hey, I'm here and you are gonna see me.
I remember
You
you
are
saying
gonna
so many times, I
recognize.
don't have time for that, D. I just don't have time for it.
Yeah, yeah, it was, the spirit said, "Well, you're gonna make time,
Right.
because here I am."
Yes.
Yep,
And that's one of the things we talked about
it'll
today, actually, too, is because I've been going through some lessons here in my life, very over the last week or two. And it just keeps coming up, keeps coming up, keeps coming up. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, I don't know what I'm supposed to be learning from this, but I know it's something. And like I told Jessica, it's like I am ears wide open. Like, I'm ears wide open right
Mhm.
now, because I don't want the smackdown, because I've had the smackdown.
Yeah.
It sucks. It
It
sucks
does.
so bad. So I don't want the smackdown. So I'm like, okay. And one of the things I told you that Stephen Harefield said to me is, don't let your emotions rule you. Be ever vigilant and let it teach you. Let it teach you.
Mhm.
And and that is by far and away one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever been given, because I do pay more attention now. I am
Mhm.
vigilant. and I am like, okay, what are you teaching me this? And y'all listen, learning and growing is not painless. It sucks.
No.
We do
Oh,
not like to feel bad, frustrated, angry, sad. We do not like those negative emotions. There's really no negative emotions, just our take on it, but we don't like that.
mhm.
So we want to push it away and not pay attention to it or repress it in some way because we don't want to look at it. You have to take that shit out and look at it. You have to face it.
Yeah,
You have to, because if you don't, then it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the big old smackdown happens. And you're like, what the fuck am I doing on the ground again? And there's just no reason for that. If you don't just sit with those shitty feelings, sit with them and let them teach you. Ask, what am I supposed to be learning? Show me a different interpretation. Allow me to see what is really happening here. What do I need to learn from
yeah,
that? And I
and
promise
it,
you will learn. You will. And it'll change your fucking
yeah,
life.
it sure will. It sure will. And it's not something that happens overnight. It's not a switch that you can turn on and be like, "Oh, I see everything now." It
Yeah.
take and I mean, I think there's a reason why it's called consciousness or higher consciousness, because it takes a conscious effort to change that mindset and to start to notice synchronicities, notice the signs and things that you are trying to be taught by spirit. Um, so yeah, that it is. You just it's just a conscious effort. I don't
It
know how else
is.
to explain it, and I still, every day we're always learning, and I still have to make a conscious effort to react differently
Yeah.
or notice the signs or put the pieces together. Um, so it's not definitely not anything that happens overnight. What?
Yeah. Clara just popped in.
What?
Clara just popped in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Awesome.
yeah. Okay. Well, before Clara, before we get into our podcast with you, I'm going to close this one out real quick. I'm not going to close the episode or the screen here, but I am going to close the recording.
I'll be back in a
So,
second. I'll be back in a second.
okay. So, thank you everyone for joining Jessica and me for this impromptu fly by the seat of our pants chat. I hope you've enjoyed it. And we will see you again on the next podcast. And we will continue this conversation because I dig it. I'm digging it so hardcore right now, Jess. And we're going to finish this. We're going to go back in and do a part 2 of this one. So y'all stand
Love
by for
it.
that. And we will see you again real soon. And as always, I love you all. Oh, wait. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for
Yes.
participating in this beautiful channel for what we're doing. We're growing our spirituality. We want you to grow yours. If you have any questions, please let us know. Reach out to us. We'll put the link for the Spiritually Speaking podcast group on Facebook in the description notes below this video. Please join us there. We would love to have you. As always, we want your ideas and your feedback. So we'll see you on the next one. I love you all.
Bye.